Sleep did 2-0 Scarlet his very first match of this tournament, so he's coming on strong with ZVZ, and he's really warmed up for this coming up. So our first player here is going to be the currently teamless Sleep. He is going to be the green Zerg, and he is going to be in the southwest position. And his opponent is going to be TSL's Symbol, and of course these TSL Zergs are some of the best in the world.
Yes, I always find the great irony that they are called Team SCV Life. I mean, that used to be true when you had players like Alive, when you had players like Polt, who were tearing up everything. But nowadays, it's definitely Team Drone Life. They have an incredible repertoire from Ragnarok through Shine, Symbol, Hyun, of course, who we're very partial to at the IPL. You know, representing them very well in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, so far in this tournament, Symbol, of course, everybody's had an incredibly difficult run to get anywhere near these rounds.
Oh, yeah.
Symbol has taken out some really good players. I mean, he 2-0'd Sculp, he 2-0'd MC, which is, you know, nothing to sneeze at. Obviously, MC, 2 GSL championships under his belt. He is always a favorite to get in the top 4 of any tournament he goes into.
Yeah, I actually casted those games too, and Symbol, there was one of the games where MC probably had a better chance and should have taken the game. That was actually game number 1. It was kind of ugly. Symbol was actually, they Gome panned over to him after the winner screen. They showed him, and he was just like, oh, I don't want to go through that game again. But game number 2 was an incredibly convincing win. So Symbol certainly on top of his game. I've really enjoyed seeing this guy's kind of rise to power as well, as he had gone from one of kind of the faceless TSL Zerg players to being a guy who's an extremely strong GSL contender and obviously a threat to win this whole tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing players rise up and do well is very cool. I mean, Life is another Zerg I've loved to see. I mean, just his first time in the GSL, bam, he wins it. 15 years old, incredible player. And we're going to see our first divergence here as this game begins. See a 15 hatch for Symbol and a pool first for Sleep. He's also getting gas as well, which means you're going to, of course, get that fast speed.
Yeah, that's kind of clever from him. It sets his hatchery back just a little bit further. Now he's probably a full 40 seconds behind, something like that. Exactly 40 seconds behind.
Nice.
I take pride in that one. Oof. But, you know, I mean, a lot of players will, even if they're going to add on gas, will decide to put up that hatchery next, then go for gas right afterwards so that, you know, they prioritize out those queens, make sure that everything's operating along the right line. But he doesn't want to fall that far behind in terms of overall speed, and he's not going to. They have almost exactly the same gas count.
Yeah, I very much like the pool first opening because you get that earlier queen as opposed to the earlier hatch, which means you are going to have a bit more larva early on because that inject gives you 4 larva, whereas the early hatchery, of course, only gives you 3. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you're going to be aggressive. You're just going to have a little bit more stuff than your opponent, which in a mirror match, especially in ZVZ, every little bit counts.
And this is kind of a crazy place to start for a mirror matchup too. We're starting on Entomb Valley. It's a very large map. I forgot if the current version that we're using, and I apologize, I should know this, is forced cross bonds or if it's just you know, no horizontal positions is the only thing that holds us back. I'll try and find that out here in just a bit. But you know, there's a long walk distance. There's a lot of room outside of the vision of the Xel'Naga Tower that you have to be very diligent at dumping your overlords on, watching these banana hallways around the side where Zergling attacks can hit you. So it's one of those maps that's deceptively large because if you recall things like Taldra Malter, that was a map that people love to be very aggressive on because you just don't expect it.
Yeah, there's just so many places to sneak around. It's something you've always got to be aware of. Of course, Speedling's just one of the most dangerous units to lose track of in any game because once they get in there and you're not watching, it's just so hard to get rid of them. They move so quickly, and it's very difficult to pin them down. We have a lot of links coming out here for Sleep, and you know, instead of getting a Baneling Nest early on, as we see Symbol is doing, Sleep is getting these early lings to try to make up for that. Instead of having Banelings, he's going to have a bunch of lings, and with good micro, he could come out ahead.
Someone's hiding Speedlings, and is he going to hide them? He does. He gets them out of vision. Very nice job for Sleep. Sleep is going for a Zergling all-in right now, and he wants to try and end this game very quickly, and he held those perfectly. But the problem is, he's moving out with a lot of lings. Symbol now picks up on this because he has the Overlord well positioned in the front of the map, but we already have Banelings coming up for Symbol, and that is going to present a huge problem to Sleep.
Beautiful placement on the ramp for those Banelings, so if he tries to run up, he will be met with a nasty surprise. We are going to see an engagement coming here into the natural. Oh, Sleep has to be so careful. These Banelings are so dangerous. He's getting chased away a little bit now. This is going to give Symbol time to make more Banelings at home if he desires, but he is really extending with this.
Yes, he is. Heading out there pretty far into the middle of the map. Sleep is not taking any damage from the Banelings quite yet, but Symbol has forced him significantly far away. Now, the whole time, Symbol has decided these are the only units he's going to make. He did decide to put up drones runs behind this. Sleep considered droning for a second. I think he made around a 5 or something, and I thought he was going to transition completely out of this. Decides to swap that around, though. Another 8 Lings on the way, and he has that Spine Crawler. He expects some sort of a follow-up or so it looks like. That's not coming out of Symbol at all.
Yeah, we might see actually just a counterattack here, a little bit of base race action, depending on how far this damage gets. Looks like no, Symbol is going to pull back, and there's a good number of Banelings at home. 3 Banelings with proper micro will be enough to deter Sleep from coming in there. And now Symbol is the one putting on the aggression.
Yeah, so Symbol's actually out here. There's a nice little wall with these Queens up at the front. This is not forcing any more units out of Sleep, though. Sleep actually just sitting back with this Spine Crawler, content to defend behind that. Nice job picking off those Banelings. He does end up losing the Spine Crawler, but it delays long enough for him to get the rest of his forces back home and clean this up pretty efficiently.
Yeah, very good. So now we just kind of ended up balancing out. We see Symbol's Roach Warren is about to finish, so he can go into that more bulky mid-game. But until you get a good number of Roaches out, you can get that good Roach ball. Speedlings are so dangerous because they can get that surface area on those Roaches and take them out very quickly. So Symbol can't be aggressive with these Roaches unless he has a good number of them.
Man, and Symbol was really banking on the fact that these Zerglings weren't going to be here in a hurry, and Sleep is delaying long enough for the 10 Roaches to pop up. Symbol he had saved up all of his resources, he had saved up his supply, everything was going into waiting for these Roaches, and now that they're shown, Sleep just turns around. He knows he can't engage anymore.
Yep, he's going to have to pull it back, move it into the mid-game. We see he is getting a Baneling Nest up now. He's got 4 gases, so he will be able to get going to Lair. And then, you know, he's got the choice of either going for those mutas or going for Infestor play. All
right, well, we'll see what... you know how Symbol's actually going to follow this up here in just a second, too, because his layer tech is only just now started. Sleeps, despite his 4 gas, quite far behind. Oh, but he's going for 4 spines. He's going for a bunch more Zerglings and the Baneling Nest layer coming up now, but I wonder... Sleep's always been a very crafty player. He kind of bucks tradition, doesn't worry about what everyone else is doing. He has his own plan. Very nice position for these Roaches actually tucked up along this crevice here. That's going to allow them to be a little bit more cost-effective.
Yep, he's going to take out a couple of them. Baneling not getting the best connection there. And just, yeah, once you don't have enough Speedlings, these Roaches just are very resilient with that base armor, taking away a lot of that Zergling damage. And he's just going to have to run away from them. It looks like he is getting his lair up. And it's just, he seems very in between being aggressive and being defensive. And I'm wondering if he might get caught out soon.
I think he kind of already has, if you talk about in terms of military and in terms of economy. His opponent is sitting on a superior number of workers, 10 more as a matter of fact. He's got a little bit more well-developed tech. His layer tech actually hit earlier. He's clearing up a lot of excess supply right now, and I wonder why you know, he's going through and doing that right at the moment. But Sleep, I don't even know if he has enough to defend what's here. This is just 5 Roaches.
A surprisingly dangerous number of Roaches, and we see a lot coming up from the rear here. And these Speedlings just don't stand a chance against this once these guys group together and start using that buddy system. A couple Banelings going to come up from Sleep, but a nice spread from Symbol is going to deny a good bit of that damage. And this is just so dangerous. He's just going to be able to walk past those Spine Crawlers. He's not going to be able to hold them on this ramp.
That's right. So the rest of these Zerglings actually taking some pretty considerable damage there. Yeah, he does manage to surround it. There's no more reinforcements coming up for Symbol, so Sleep holds on for the time being. But again, he's down by 10 workers. He has not that much of a standing army to speak of. These Zerglings would get dispatched up very quickly. I think we just had a little earthquake or something like that a second ago, too, so that was kind of awkward. But let's see here now what Sleep is going to do to follow this up.
Yeah, it looks like he still just wants to... He knows he's behind. He knows he's got a little bit of a deficit. He's taken some damage. He wants to see where he can catch Symbol out, maybe force a cancel on that hatchery, something like that. The rocks aren't down for Symbol, I believe, so any Speedling run-bys there would do pretty well. He's working on those rocks now, but, I mean, he could even get those Speedlings in there, pick off a few Roaches, anything to keep Symbol back.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, he needs to play the delay game because he's gearing up for, well, I mean, it's kind of an awkward situation. He probably needs to take another base here in just a second, but he doesn't really have the ability to do so because if you invest into infrastructure, he's going to get hit by a massive number of units popping out of Symbol here in just a minute. If he doesn't take that, though, Symbol can sit back, play a little bit defensive, and just kind of out-macro him the entire rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's not a place where you want to be. It looks like the Lings try to get in the third just a little bit there, seeing just some dancing Christmas colors on the mini-map, but Roaches denying that. Now those rocks are down. Creep in between the bases courtesy of those Overlords, and now we're going to see some more Roach aggression at Sleep's front door. A couple Spine Crawlers here are going to help a lot, but he's just going to go around them.
Yeah, I like what he's doing here, too. I like this approach. And he's funneled all of these Zerglings through this tiny little patch. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now he's doing more economic damage. And the fact of the matter is, like, this should only be holding Sleep back a little bit. Sleep's so far behind now that this should only be doing a little bit of damage over and over again. But now it's just going to outright kill him. That's GG.
Unbelievable. Symbol using just such a small number of units so effectively that Sleep was unable to catch up.
Yeah, so there we have. That's game number 1 in the bag. So congrats.